So welcome back. In our Cypress with TypeScript series, today we are going to see how we can get the browser element attribute values or the entered text or the display text as well. So this is mostly required when you are validating something. So for an instance, there is a full name field. You have entered something. Now you want to validate what you have entered. So you need to fetch the data from the browser and then validate against your what you call whatever expected string that you are expecting, and then if it is working fine, then your test case would be pass. That is one scenario. Another scenario would be like checking some kind of attributes or the properties of that element. For an instance, let's say that you have checked this particular checkbox. Now you want to validate whether this checkbox is checked or not, or this radio button is checked or not. So those kind of things we need to have validations, and for that reason only we are using the cypress, right? So cypress is providing different methods actually to perform these operations, so we will see them one by one. So for this, let me move to my Visual Studio Code, and here I'm opening a new file, and here I'm saying AttributeValue.ts. Okay, a file, and then I'm just copy pasting something from here. So in this code, actually, we are navigating to this screen. After that, we are identifying the username field and entering something. Okay. Now, once you entered something, the value will be printed in this, right? Now you want to fetch that. So for this, actually, what we can do, we can put a dot here, and there is something called as a invoke method actually. So invoke method, and this accepts few of the parameters, as you can see. Like it is couple of arguments it is happening, so you can have one parameter or two parameters in this. Okay, so basically whenever you are entering something to this is updating your value property of your browser element. Okay, so for this I can say colon, and there is something called as val. So this will return me the value that I am entering. Once I'm done with that, then I can use the then method, and inside this I can say my value. Okay, and then I will create a function here, and inside this maybe I will just print this one. Okay, I will say sci.log, and here I will say my value. Okay, so this is what it is entered. You can even do this one, any, removing that error. Okay, fine. So now this will print basically whatever you are printed here. So let me just quickly run this code actually. So for this, npm run cypress colon open, and this opens the cypress ey, and then this is what actually attribute value. I'm clicking this one to run my test case. Okay, I think it is X. Let me remove this one, save it, and it will start running. Okay, as you can see, so first it visited, identified that, and then entered some value here, and then after that it is invoking the val method actually. So this val method basically will return the QAB box which is entered here. Okay, so that is how you can fetch the value from here. And the same thing actually you can use this should value. So for an instance, even I can do like this. Let's say that you don't want to print this one, you basically want to validate something. So what you can do, there is a should method, and here you can put two parameters it accepts. One is have value, and here you can match to whatever you are expecting. Let's say that I am expecting it should be QAB box. So now if I save it, okay, so there is some problem. Let's see. Oh, because it two times it printed actually. So for this reason it is throwing. So what I can do here, I will say dot clear. Let me run it. Yeah, you can see. So first it identified, then it is identifying, then it is going to the QAB box, it is typing the value, then invoking means whatever it entered, it's just fetching that value and it is printing that log. After that, it is again identifying the value and then clearing the value. because we have to remove it because I'm again entering. So again it is entering the value, and then it is kind of asserting that. So to have dot value, so whenever you are using should, you have to use the have dot value. Whenever you are kind of want to fetch that value, if you want to print to something, or else if you want to use some expect chai assertion, actually we call it, if you want to do that, so you need like this value. So there are two ways to get your value and then validate it. Okay, so here you can validate expect to do, you can do like this. Fine, so these are basically these two ways is to fetch the value. So I can say to fetch the entered text from text box actually, or input box. This is the way you will do that. Let me write it here: text box fetch value or entered text. Fine. Okay, so this is about your text boxes. Now, if you see here, let me just go to another one. Yeah, this one. Now, here, if you see, so this is basically, if I go to this and then let me just go to here, you will see there is no text entered here. So, whatever you're entering, that is treating it as a value that the user entered. But if you go to this label, let's say this label is having ID, and then there is some attribute, and if you see here, this is not exactly the value, this is the text, actually the visible text. How do you use this? Now if you use value property to get from here, it won't return anything. Let me show you that. So let me copy paste this one, and then let me put here, and then this one I'm making it as x so that it will skip. Now here I'm saying that fetch text from browser element. It's not entered text, it is the visible text like this. The starting and closing element tags, whatever the value it is showing, basically we call it as a text content also. So here this is lbl name, right? So I'm just taking it as lbl name, and I don't want to type anything here because this is not for typing actually. This is just to validate whether the text whatever it is entered. I cannot perform anything on this particular element, but I can fetch the element, or I can identify the element and verify whether the text should be full name. So how do I do that? So instead of invoke, I can use a text attribute actually here, or this is a text method or attribute we can say. Now the same thing, I'm taking the value and then doing it here. The same thing what you can do here, you can make it as a text, and then here you can verify. Instead of that, you can say full name. Okay, now if I save this one and open the cypress runner, you can see, okay, so there is some problem actually. Full name, I think it is capital. Full name, let's see. Yeah, you can see now it is working fine. You can see, oops, there is some problem. Oops, you know what? I'm taking username. I should have taken this lbl name. This is problem with the copy paste. Now let's move to here, and then you can see it is working fine. So it identified, and then it invoked the text. Invoke means it's kind of fetching the text, actually the printed text, and it is printing that one, and here you can see it is kind of asserting that one also. So like this, so this is basically from any browser element. It doesn't mean that it should be like label, it can be any div element. Let's say that let me just go to h3. Let's say that I want to get the value from this h3 tag actually. So whatever you are seeing, this is nothing but my text actually on the beginning and closing bracket, what you call tags, whatever it is there. The same thing, let's say that this div tag, it is saying I am hidden actually, so that one. So this kind of text if you need, then you have to use the text attribute. Okay, so let's go back here. So this is again, so we are done with this one, right? So we know now how to get the value from a text box, how to get the text from a browser element, be it any kind of a tag name actually, but that shouldn't be a text box, because text box you can get the value, all other elements you can get the text. So that is what you need to always keep it in mind. Okay, fine. Now the third thing is that getting some attributes. Now these are very specific to each kind of elements, right? Whether it is like your text box or normal element. There are certain more elements are also there where let's say that I want to get the any attribute value. Like for an instance, this is my username field, right? I want to get what is the class name, what is the name of this, what is the type of this, kind of the properties of this particular browser element. The properties can be attributes. The properties could be like whether it is checked or not, whether it is disabled or not, whether it is hidden or not. So all those properties also I can fetch it on the fly. For an instance, and this is basically required, let's say that I want to get the property whether it is enabled or not. This particular full name field is enabled. It is enabled, right? How do I know this one actually? So for this, there is, if you go onto this developers tool on the right side into the properties, you will see the one which you highlighted there. It is coming, this one, input username enter text. Now if you expand this one, you will see all the properties of this particular element actually. You can see a lot of different things are there: the font size, font family, anything that you need. The class name, you can see class name is enter text. Here also it is coming. The client height, left, whatever the pixels and everything is there. All this information you can get it. Even the id also you can get it. Inner text, if there is anything, you can get it. Local name, there is a name attribute. You can see the name attribute is ename. Here also uname is coming. Node name, it is basically like what kind of a tag is there. There is even a tag name also. Let me show you that. Oh, so it's in alphabetical order. It's easy for you guys to search it. You can see tag name is input. So let me show you. The type is text. You can see that one. So all these things you can get it very easily actually, whatever it is there. So if there is any enabled properties there, you can even see those things also. So it's very handy feature whenever you are checking some checkbox. Let's say you checked some checkboxes, now you want to validate whether it is really checked or not. How do you validate that one? So let me just show you that. Let me just scroll a bit down. Here you can see this radio button, I have checked it, right? Now let me inspect this one. And now if I come here, it is an input, right? Now let's see here, the checked attribute. You can see the checked is true. Now if I'm checking something else, this becomes false now. Let me show you that. Yeah, you can see it was not refreshed properly. So now you can see the checked is false actually for this one. Now if I go to this one, the checked is true because I checked this option. So you can click it, refreshes that. Okay, so all these things you can do. Let me show you another thing also. Let's say for this link, I'm doing an inspect. Now here, whatever you are seeing, if you go to this, you can see the href, the target, everything you can see here also. Let me go to the h here. Yeah, you can see the property of this, the link is clickable or not, the inner text, what it is present here. You can see all those things. So inner text is basically the text that is displaying here. So all these properties you can get it actually. Let's try to automate actually something here. Let me try to click on this particular checkbox actually, and this is very simple to check a checkbox. First thing is that I need to identify this one, and here you can see the id is common here. If you see, id is everything is the ip, so I cannot take that. But if I go with the testing basics, let me go to the selectors hub, and then if I'm using this one and enter, you can see it's only matching with one instance. So let me take this css selector to check this particular checkbox. So what I can do here, okay, so this is new one, right? So here let me put this one, and here I can say fetch properties, or attributes, anything you can say, any attributes of a browser element. Fine. Now here, this is, you have to give a escape sequence here. Now this is a checkbox, right? So directly I can say that dot click. So this will be clicked. Now once you click it, then what you need to do, you need to kind of invoke the property actually. Now I cannot type here directly like this checked actually, like whichever we have seen. I cannot use this one, che. So for this actually I have to use another attribute. See, normally what happens, these are the attributes, right? Like the ID, name, type, all these things. So I can use directly this invoke text property. So these are all predefined, like invoke val, invoke text. These are all basically the methods actually, the JavaScript or jQuery methods. I can directly run it. But if you see, these are checked, selected, href, these are attributes actually, these are not the methods. So for this what you need to do, you need to add another parameter. You can say attr actually, and then you will say like this. So now what will happen, or sorry, this is not attr, this is prop, because these are properties I have shown you, right? So if you go to this, right click here on the right hand side, these are all properties actually. So for this you need to use the prop keyword, and then you will say checked. Now whatever it is printing here, I mean whatever it is giving you this as a output, that I'm capturing here and printing here. Let's see that. So here let me move like this and let me save it, and you can see it will run. And here you can see it checked, but let's see what it is printing. You can see it loaded, and then it identified this checkbox, clicked it, and invoked the property. That is a property. It means what kind of property? You wanted to get the checked property, that is true. So because it is checked, that's why it is giving you that one. Let's say that I don't want to click this one, and I don't want to click, just I want to get the invoke or get the property of this one. So you will see false here, like that. So now you can get the property, and you can what do you call, do a expect statement here, and you will make sure that it is false or true. So this is another way you can get all the attributes. So even let's say that for this particular let me again go back to the application. Let's say that you want to get the name of this actually. So what you can do here, prop, and then you can say name, and then save it and go to the runner, and here you can see language. So this is basically the what do you call, the attribute actually. So all the attributes, you can even use the prop as a keyword, and you can get it. So anything that is listed here on this, any of these properties, if you want to get it, you can use that particular what do you call, that particular method, invoke method. You can get the id, you can get the height, and all those things you can get it. Fine. So this is again another handy way. For an instance, let's say that if you want to go to this one actually, so inspect it, and here this is a tag, right? So here what you can do, you can go to this one, and then you can get the href also. Okay, so like these kind of things you can utilize it. For an instance, let me show you that. So the what do you call, the links are a bit tricky in a way. Let me show you. So I will use another method actually, cy method, because see, css selector don't have the option to identify based on this text. Okay, so that's why I have to use the contains keyword or contains method. Now here I will say tutorials, and then this one, and then I will say dot invoke, and here I will say href. This should be property, right? So here I will say property, and then comma, what kind of property I want to get, the href property, and then let me print this one. And this is because this is bit long, so that's why let me copy paste this one, and here I can put like this. Now if I save it, and let's go to this one and come back here, you can see first it identified. Now you can see not this one, this one actually contains tutorials. You can see I'm just making it as contains actually. So that's why whenever I'm saying tutorials, Cypress is kind of searching across the screen. Wherever the text is tutorials, it is going there, identifying that one, and fetching the or invoking the HREA property, that is nothing but QAvalidation.com. So like this you can get it. And this particular my value, you can take it and you can play with, or you can even do an expect statement here. So all these things you can check it actually. So mostly you need actually these three things. One is actually to get the value from a text box. If you want to print the text content of a particular element, whether it is div or anything, you can use the invoke text property or text method actually. And then if you want to any other properties which is listed from here actually, you can use the prop, invoke a prop, and then you can give the name. Name means any one of this access key, arithmetic, anything. You can just add it here and then you can play with that. So these are the different ways you can get get to know more details about the browser elements properties. Okay, so hope this session is helpful to make you or to validate different stuff, whatever, whether you are entering some value or clicking on a button or you are verifying the text present in that. Okay, so stay tuned. We will see some more topics in our future sessions. So do subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't. Thank you for watching.